Why is New York City the city of the future? I mean, first of all, it's the most ecologically sound city in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm sure there's actually that's probably wrong, but I mean it's just more environmentally friendly, I think, to live in the city and rely on public transportation than it is to live in the suburbs and drive a car. And I think for this reason, generally, cities are more the sort of places of the future. But aside from that, I mean, New York City, again, geographically, it's just this hub. It attracts everyone. Everyone passes through here at some point. You know, it's just so central. I think Los Angeles had a great appeal when the movie industry was really in its golden age, but the Hollywood film industry's power is waning. Generally, as a result of all these technological advancements and media becoming more just something that everyone has and has access to, and you know, everyone has access to now to means of production and distribution to some degree, you know, with their phone and somewhat with social networking sites and these sorts of things. Of course, that's happening so much that Hollywood is losing its powers. That it had that monopoly power of like, hey, you know, we make the movies here, we distribute them from here, and you know, it was a center of control that's breaking down. It still has something, you know, but whatever. And I'm just saying that now. Another thing about New York that makes it such an extraordinary city is that if you think of life becoming something like a reality show, New York is Broadway. I mean, New York is the land of musicals and live theater, and it's in the streets. But actually, amazingly, there's no, like, there used to be a lot more live theater in the streets in New York in the past, which is just, you know, you had like drag queens and all sorts of characters and club kids and just all kinds of misfits and eccentrics in the city that made the place this kind of live reality show at all times. You know, and unfortunately, those times the sort of film production, video equipment wasn't what it is today. And now that we have that, I mean, as I walked around 5th Avenue and 66th Street here, I mean, virtually every person I pass here is a tourist. That's understandable. There's no characters whatsoever within anywhere near where I am. I mean, these people are all just kind of like regular shopping mall people. You know, that's just that. You don't see a single like if you were you know, Central Casting were to take a look at this scenario, they'd tell all these people to go home. The other real power and appeal of New York is the immersion, the absorption in the city, that like it really is. What do I mean by immersion? Like just that I think that when you're in the suburbs or anywhere else, you're driving around in a car, you go back to your own house, these sorts of things, you're always at a remove from the place. You're always like a spectator looking out onto it in some way, like kind of detached, I feel like, you know. You're not like for example, when I lived in South Florida and had a car and drove around, I mean, you're first of all, you're detached from the weather. You don't have to really experience the heat. There's air conditioning everywhere. You don't know what it's like to walk on that street. As I'm walking on this street right now, you don't do that. You go from one controlled environment to another controlled environment. You go from generic space to generic space. Whereas here, although the space has become a lot more generic as a result of gentrification, all of these sorts of, national chains opening up where there were once unique sort of mom and pop businesses. Now you have Chase Manhattan Bank and a lot of those things. But aside from that, there's still this like connectedness to the place, right? Like right now, I'm walking from one gig to another. I'm heading to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I'm beginning to sweat slightly. I started from the Time Life building, Time Inc. Here I am at 68th Street, 5th Avenue, heading from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. My armpits are just about to break a sweat. It's a very cool, pleasant day. If it were hotter, I probably wouldn't be doing this. But I'll tell you right now that the temperature is 77 degrees here in New York City, and it's borderline. You know what I mean? I can deal with it. I'm enjoying it just because, I don't know, the more I do these long days where I'm working like 10 to 12 hours inside of a sort of, these spaces, I really like to be outside. So right now, rather than ride a subway, I'm enjoying walking along Central Park and looking around, observing, being absorbed, being in it here in the city. But as I say, there's no New York characters whatsoever. So if you just were looking at the people isolated from the place, like in kind of a green screen situation without the background, with the background removed, and they're just like in a blank space, just each one of them. Well, they could be from anywhere. I mean, we could be anywhere. There's nobody that I'm looking at that I'm saying, this person grounds me in New York City in 2014. Because there's no grounding in that sense. What the hell does that mean? Somebody now we could get someone who would ground you in New York City in 1977 or 1993 or 1992 or this sort of thing. But there's not really such a thing today. But are there people that you see that you think, oh, well, I see this person and I know I'm in New York? No. That doesn't really exist anymore. Now, that sort of thing is the New York of, at the latest, the 90s. I think the 21st century New York, there's no real specific person that grounds you in it. Like, that kind of New York is that kind of thing where you see a certain sort of character, city character person, and you feel like that is just New York. That's the 90s. That's not really the situation today. What makes me feel like I'm in New York is not any individual person, but the density of people, the population. Just the fact that what is the experience of being in New York? It's constantly having to deal with swarms of people everywhere all the time, to the point where you can't even talk to yourself in public without pretending to be on the phone as I'm doing right now.